Hello, everyone. This is Stephanie with Menus for All, and we are back with another foodie profile. But this one is kind of special to Menus for All because this is some of the inspiration that got Menus for All started. So I can't wait to share this story with you all, not only about the beginnings of Menus for All, but how it's been helping him use Menus for All or have accessible restaurant menus in his day-to-day life. So just to give you an idea of who I am, or what I look like. I am a 46-year-old biracial woman with brownish blackish hair that's in curls all over my head this morning. And I've got on a red sweater because it's still chilly in Memphis. But hey, we're waiting on spring, so it's all good. And so it is just my honor and my pleasure to have our guest with us this morning. So I'm going to let Mr. Brandon and Miss Megan introduce themselves. Thank you all for being here with us this morning.
Hello, my name is Brandon Foshee. This is my wife.
Hi, Megan Foshee. Glad to be with you this morning.
All right, so Brandon, tell us a little bit about who you are, just who Brandon and Megan are. Tell us who you all are.
Okay, so we live in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. We have been here for about 2 years now. We moved up from Magnolia. That's where we were previously. We moved up here because my wife is a nursing professor at OBU. I previously ran Fauxsee Innovations in Magnolia. It was a research and development company that did medical devices for people with disabilities. I retired about a year and a half ago, so I am just enjoying the stress-free life today, and eating and that kind of thing is eating is one of my favorite pastimes. So that's why Menus for All is something that I like to use.
All right. And so years and years ago, it's my understanding that you got an opportunity to meet our co-founder, Helen Fernety. So tell me about how you and Helen met and what happened there.
So we were introduced through Rebecca Todd with the Small Business Development Center at University of Arkansas, Little Rock. She had thought that I could give Helen some advice because I was someone in the blind community with a business. And so Helen reached out to me, and we met for lunch one day in Little Rock at the Big Orange.
Now, before that meeting, did you know about the idea that Helen had for Menus for All at that point?
No, I did not.
Okay. So before listening to Helen and getting to understand what her business idea was, how did you interact with restaurants or the restaurant menus? How did that happen?
So whoever I was with would read the menus to me.
So Miss Megan, that meant a lot of work on you sometimes, didn't it?
I guess so. Not that I minded, but Brandon is independent. He is a smart man, and to have to go in and not to demean this in any way, but to have to read it almost like helping a child go through a menu. Mm-hmm. It takes a little extra time. He would have to pick out his food. I would also have to try to kind of pick out my food. And we might, need more time than other couples. Or if he was with someone else, they may have to pick it out. oftentimes we would, if possible, try to decide before we would go to a restaurant what we might want to eat. Traveling could sometimes be difficult because we wouldn't know what could be available. If we were going down the road and I was trying to follow map directions or look for exits and also look for a restaurant at the same time. So having Menus for All, once it came out, and I don't want to jump ahead, it really changed things for us because it gave him a lot more independence.
And probably helped you as well.
It definitely did. And if we touch back, especially on the traveling, now Brandon is able to, I can focus on driving and he can get on there and look around and say, oh, there's this restaurant coming up. Like, why don't we get off here? Or there's, this restaurant, or this many options, up ahead. And it just takes that much stress off of me. If we're traveling to see family or when we're in an area that's unfamiliar, that's one less thing I have to, worry about in the car. And that's just one small component of it, but it's been so helpful.
And so, Brandon, that first lunch that you had with Helen, your mom was there, and my understanding is she read the menu. So tell me about how that lunch went when you first met Helen and how this kind of transpired and you got to learn what this business idea is that she had.
So the business idea that she had at that time was, I believe it was more about a grocery delivery service.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were kind of working through that, coming up with, the best ways, to get that off the ground. And I think after seeing, my mother reading the menu to me, I think that gave Helen the idea, well, maybe she needed to pivot a little bit and, change the business idea, so.
We like that word pivot in these entrepreneurial markets, don't we?
Uh-huh.
But Helen's always talked about, here is this gentleman in front of her who was doing these amazing things. She talks about your relationship with the National Science Foundation, all these businesses that you had as part of your own company of Fauxsee Innovations. And you couldn't read the restaurant menu, and it struck her so very much. And she just wanted to see that change. And what does it feel like to have someone watch your situation as a person with blindness or visual impairment and figure out, hey, I can make this better? How does that make you feel?
I mean, that's pretty cool. Every little bit of technology that comes along, makes us just that much more independent. So, just, like getting an iPhone really changed my life, because before I had an iPhone, I couldn't hardly, find a job. And then, when I got an iPhone, all of a sudden I was able to start my own company. Wow. It made that big of a difference. Just, that new technology. So, every little bit of technology just makes life that much easier,
And being someone in technology, did you ever think there was going to be a solution for restaurant menus? Or did you always just think, this is just going to be the way it is? Either someone's going to read it to me, I'm going to get an inaccessible web copy. I mean, did you ever think it would change?
I guess I didn't really give it much thought other than the fact that it was just kind of always an awkward, thing that I just dealt with, So, when Helen had the idea, I was all for it,
And you have stuck with us. You have been a member of our board since the beginning. Not only that, you've been able to you've seen all the different variations that we have gone through. So the grocery shopping went out the window, accessible menus came on board, and you've seen us take this from an idea to a website to now the app. So you've seen us gone from a handful of restaurant menus to 50,000 to now over 1 million across the United States and Canada. So tell me what's your opinion of Menus for All, not just being a board member, but being a user of it.
Oh, I mean, I think it's great. I've enjoyed watching it grow and look forward to, what else it can do, going forward. I think that it can continue to grow and even improve,
And so what's some of the things you like to see Menus for All think about adding to what we offer now?
Well, so one thing that my wife and I have a hard time with is she has to eat gluten-free now. It's something that we just discovered about 1.5 years ago, that she has a gluten sensitivity. And a lot of menus, they don't say, what's gluten-free. Yesterday we went to a restaurant and, the waitress was able to tell us what was gluten-free, but the menu didn't have it on there, So, I mean, if that was a possibility, something to add in the future, that would be, something that would be helpful for us.
Okay. And Miss Megan, since you've seen the app, are there things other than the gluten-free options that you would like to see added that could help you or Brandon or other users?
Well, I think any type of allergen notice would be helpful. There are so many out there now, not just strictly the gluten allergy or sensitivity. But no, I love the app. I like the way it's set up. I think it's friendly towards people who are blind or visually impaired, and also the sighted community. Because if I, sometimes look over Brandon's shoulder, or we're just, using it, like a lot of times we do use it in the car. But if he's using it, I may just use it instead of a paper menu or a plastic menu. Just because it is, it's clean. So I like that, where that's been. You don't know sometimes about the menus in the restaurant. But just to add to it, it is just nice. It has nice descriptions. You can either listen to it or you can read it. But just sometimes those descriptions, like for example, I think our school cafeteria where I work does a really good job, because it lists like all of the warnings: shellfish, wheat, gluten, whether or not something's vegan, if it's vegetarian. It puts all of the warnings on there, nut allergies. And to me, that's just very helpful in this day and age where there are a lot of allergen sensitivities. And I know, not being the ones who control the actual menu, the actual food, it could be very difficult. And so as the school cafeteria, they know what's in the food. They're able to control the menu and add those warnings or allergen notifications. But that is such helpful information to someone when you're trying to make those selections. So it's just
That's true.
And I think that falls under your umbrella of Menus for All. so it would, if you could expand in that direction, I think it would open you up to a broader audience and even a different audience while still, encapsulating that menus for all idea.
And you've hit on like a really important point. We've gotten so many stories back from consumers who talk about, oh, I'm so glad the menu had a description of what the item was because I'm allergic to mushrooms, or I was able to choose based on my health preferences, or based on my preferences just of what I like or don't like, whether or not this was a good dish for me, because it offers not only the menu item and the price, but also the description of the menu. But I like what you said about adding those extra pieces to it so that people can be even in more control of their selections, right?
Right.
Brandon, what's your favorite piece of the Menus for All app?
As his wife, I'll say that it lists the cost because he loves to know what stuff costs. That's one of the big things he likes. I'll read, if I have to read a menu to him, well, what's that cost? Because he likes to watch his pennies. So then he doesn't have to ask me, well, what's that cost though?
Well, that does help me decide between, if it's between two things, you can compare the price to help make that decision,
Okay. So it sounds like that's a good feature for both of you.
Yes. Because then I don't have to tell him aloud, well, that costs $29.99 and that costs $35.99. Because then I know I don't have to say it aloud.
And Brandon, I've seen other individuals with blindness and visual impairments, or I've had it myself when I go out to dinner with my children, and I don't want to ask my kids how much everything costs because I don't want my kids thinking, oh, mom can't afford this or something. So I just bite the bullet. I don't say anything, and I get a nice surprise when I get the bill. Right? And that's not a good position for us, is it, Brandon? I mean,
no,
it's not fun.
You don't like to be
having
shocked.
the price.
The price.
That's right. You don't like to be shocked. I mean, and I think about people on a budget. I think about people on first dates. There's some situations where you're not wanting to ask about the price, I would guess. So I can understand that one. All right. So Miss Megan gave us what she likes about the app for you. Was that the one you would say as well?
Well, I was trying to think of, so one thing I think that comes in handy that we use it a lot is when when Megan's about to get off work and we're like, well, we didn't cook anything, so we should pick something up, Well, I'll go through, the menus and pick out something, for her to pick up on the way home. And that's real convenient.
And that's not something you were really able to do before, were you?
No.
So I'm sure it kind of streamlines the process for the evening. So what has been your favorite thing that you have found to eat using the Menus for All app? Or maybe just a favorite restaurant. What's been your favorite part?
So I think we discovered the Taj Mahal in Little Rock.
Oh yeah, we did. We really like that place.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite restaurants. I didn't know about it.
Okay. And you found it in the app?
I think so.
Okay. And so what do you like to eat there?
So it's Indian food. So
okay.
I'm into really spicy food. So I I like to sit there and sweat while I eat. Megan laughs. Megan laughs because she says the grin gets bigger when the sweat starts rolling down my forehead.
It looks painful. I don't.
Yeah.
So this restaurant, I guess, speaks to the spicy side plus just a unique experience.
Yeah. So they have the spice levels, 1 through 5, and 5 they call Indian spicy, and they I can tell they're tickled when I order it that way, the Indian spicy.
All right, Miss Megan, would you also say that's your favorite find in the Menus for All app, or do you have another one?
Yeah, I think so. It's one because I enjoy watching him eat there. And yeah, I do also. We enjoy getting to experience things we don't have here in Arkadelphia. And it's a really good restaurant. I would recommend it.
All
So
right.
it was a nice find.
Yeah. And
I don't know if I could join you for the spice though.
Yeah.
Oh, I do not do the level 5. I do the mild.
Yes, I'll be over there on the side of the
him.
table with you, Miss Megan.
Yes,
we'll watch them together. You can describe it to me.
Yes.
And so, Brandon, in closing, like for those who don't know about Menus for All or have been on the fence about trying it, what advice would you give them? What's the one thing you want people to know about the Menus for All?
So it's just very convenient. I think that most people that give it a try will like it. And if they don't, they haven't really lost much. They can always cancel. But I mean, it's definitely something that I would advise people to give a try.
All right. And Miss Megan, as someone who is not the blind or visually impaired person, but someone who's affected by blindness and visual impairment just as much, what would be your advice to either family members or just the general public about using the Menus for All app?
Yeah, I mean, I just echo what Brandon said. It has just been helpful. I feel like it's given Brandon even more independence. As he said, it's just our evenings. If we need it, he can go ahead and look through a menu, decide what we're going to do for dinner versus that extra time of, I have to make it to the house, either pick him up or then we look through the menu together. And you think that's just something little, but it's really not. I mean, that just takes that one extra thing off, of feeling like, now we have to go back and do this. Well, no, I mean, in reality, that it shouldn't be that way. Like, there should be the ability for Brandon to read a menu and order food. Like, why not? And so this is just, it's wonderful. I mean,
and you think about, having somebody read the menu to you. It's not a big deal, but it's something that happens a lot, and, just the fact that, that the time saving, if nothing else, if you save a couple minutes, maybe 5 times a day, not a day, a week, that adds up, So if nothing else, you're saving a good bit of time over say a month,
That's a nice way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So you all have heard where to go to eat in Little Rock at the Taj Mahal, especially if you like spicy food. Not only that, but the entire story of how Menus for All got created and got to sit with the inspiration who gave Helen the idea that this should happen. And we've learned that it's even a way to put some minutes back in your busy life. So if those aren't reasons to go out and try the Menus for All app, I don't know what is. And if you have not done so, head over to the Apple App Store, and that's Menus for All, MENUS, the number 4, ALL, and you can start your 2-week trial today. And so you can get those minutes back and learn how independent you can be with an accessible restaurant menu. And don't forget to share that journey with us at Facebook, Instagram, or at menusforall.com. Bon appetit.